From our studios here in Scottsdale, Arizona, welcome back. This is Retirement News Online. You can find out more at retirementnewsonline.com. Well, we're talking about retirement, and as you approach it or you change jobs, deciding what to do with your 401k can have long-term implications for taxes, investment flexibility, fees, and even income planning. Now, a rollover may offer new opportunities, but it can also introduce trade-offs that aren't always obvious. That's why we're talking to Joe Clark. He's president and CEO of Fortegic in Cincinnati, Ohio. How are things in Cincinnati these days?
They're great. It's a great place to live.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Anyway, we talk about 401k, so there's, rolling it over into an IRA. What's the advantage there as opposed to just leaving it in the plan? Because I'm sure you run into people who forget they even have them.
Yeah, I mean, that happens more than we know. And, what I would always say is we try to empower our clients to take more control of what they're doing in their plan. And, when you're no longer employed at a company, your employer has control over those dollars in that plan. You can still allocate and do everything you need to do, but rolling it into an IRA, for instance, isn't going to trigger any sort of tax event.
Right.
And now they have the freedom to pick what company they want to go with, what are the financial objectives. So really, I would say in one word, it allows our clients to take full control over what they need to do to make their plan objectives work. Because prior to that, it was really just defer and deduct, force savings, right?
Yeah.
And we're following up the accumulation ladder. And now, maybe they're starting to think, well, how am I going to be able to spend this one day? So we can be more closely aligned and be more in lockstep with what their goals and objectives are.
Let's go back. Let's say somebody starts a job, when they jump into the 401k like most people do, even if they're younger. Is there an advantage to working with somebody like you to kind of plan around that? Make sure, because I know we're limited on the options that we have in the 401k, but having somebody like you help, that's probably an advantage too, isn't it?
Yeah, and I would go a step further. So, at our firm, what we also do is we have in-house tax consultation.
Yeah.
We've got a group that can help, address all the wills, trusts, TODs, POA. There's a lot of things that need to be done. And the way I look at it is a sort of a Knights of the Round Table where, the client is at the center of that table, and every professional that should be serving them, not themselves, should be sitting around that table in an effort to serve them. And we view ourselves, as one of those humble servants for the client. So, we can't necessarily manage their 401k because that's done through their company and through their employer. Right. But it's important to know what they're doing in that 401k, which allows us to have a better understanding of what to do outside the 401k to complement what that retirement planning looks like.
And you also run into people who, as we said, I think earlier, have had multiple jobs, they've got multiple 401ks, they kind of forget about them, and then you have to kind of become a forensic financial person and find them. And then, in those situations, which aren't that uncommon, what do you do?
My goodness, that is, to me, one of the biggest places of value for an advisor is it's not just a consolidation of statements and companies, it's a consolidation of peace. You kind of feel like that piecemeal approach is starting to pull at the thread a little bit, and before long you got so many different things that you can't keep track of. So we use technology, so we use systems and logins for our clients to consolidate everything into one space. But also, similar to like a general contractor doing a project at your house, he or she may not be doing all the plumbing and electric and all the other work, but they know how to bring all the pieces together. And so I think that is the key, is how can we bring everything in one, general place? And, too many cooks in the kitchen isn't always a good idea.
Right.
So for us, we want to be a captain for them, but only as it relates to what's important to them. Not our objectives, theirs. We want to help drive them.
And then the consolidation part of it, that makes income planning a lot easier too, because income means taxes and all this other stuff, and you got to deal with all that.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, their 401k, I don't know, is it in part Roth? Is it in part traditional, right? So what does their income look like outside of that, which might free them up to do a Roth outside of that? Heck, what if they're faced with a death or a disability, I mean, there's so many things that go into it, and we think, hey, if I just put my money in the 401k and get a match, I'll be able to retire no problem. And that's far from the truth. It requires a lot of detail, a lot of planning, and it's quite liberating, I think, for a lot of our clients once they go through it, to come out the other side with a plan. They feel more empowered at the end of that.
Well, appreciate your time, Joe. You obviously know what you're doing, doesn't he? That's Joe Clark with Fortegic in Cincinnati. This is Retirement News Online. If you'd like to learn more about other topics, and we cover a hell of a lot of them, go to retirementnewsonline.com. Thanks for watching.